Examples of what you mean by control, but have you really defined for us what a
What the control?
control is?
Yeah, I have a slide. Actually, I don't
Okay.
have a chance. We debate and we jump around, but the control definition is right here.
Okay.
Control are activities added to a documentary procedure to limit fraud
Added
related
to what kind of procedure?
a documentary procedure. I will-
Added to a documentary procedure?
Yeah, in order to
Sure you don't mean a deontology procedure?
how to act before you act. This is the control solution. This is the control solution. Okay. The controls are activity added, need to be added, or should be added to a documentary procedure in order to limit fraud related to inconsistency between deontic reality and documentary reality. And what is the inconsistency?
Why the control needs to be dependent on the document?
That is about the control solution. The definition here is about the control solution. The requirement is before that, and the control here is about the control solution.
You're confusing us when you say, we expect you to say deontic procedure. Why aren't you saying that?
No. This is the deontic procedure. I see your point. I see your point.
You didn't define the document before. What is the document? Doesn't mean-
The documentary procedure is the end result.
Sure, I see your point. I see.
Okay.
Good. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So, do you agree with the point?
Okay,
I
okay.
see the point, but do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Right. But let me. But let me explain the idea. Let me explain the idea. Here is the whole documentary procedure, including activity that have to accomplish the transaction. That means that have to transfer the goods, receive payment. Besides that, there are some other activities like sending quotation, sending bill of lading, and so on, verify bill of lading before making payment. These kind of things are controlled. If you totally trust each other, you just send the good and you receive the payment. You don't need any kinds of detail. This is in the ideal situation. But because there are potential opportunism, people need these kind of things to secure the transaction here. So these kind of things are added activity, into a documentary procedure. Sorry, a deontic procedure. Sorry, adding to a deontic procedure in order to prevent potential opportunism. I should.
Actually, I see why it also causes a little confusion. Is this control is completely different from the control in computer science.
Yeah.
Because control that means some kind of flow, dynamics. Here, control
Right. Yeah, like
means
yeah,
that's why I say once
Interesting.
you try to get the control requirements where
Where's
it
the
flows.
software?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me.
It's not the control system.
Right.
or-
That's right.
Not like a
Right.
do while loop or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
We look from two perspectives.
This is why I'm confused.
This is the management.
You at the same time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay, well.
Actually, this is two totally different perspectives. If you look at the management theory and you look at the accounting theory, control are activity to prevent fraud.
I see. Yeah, now I understand.
Oh, you look
Yeah,
at
no
the
need to-
workflows
yeah.
or computer science, control is the sequence of activity or the
That's
flows
right.
of information.
That's right, yeah.
The flow of information.
Right.
It's
So
more like
here-
body control.
Right,
Right,
here
so
we talk
audit
about this
control,
thing. It's
it's
not
a-
about control flow.
Yeah, yeah,
So
okay.
control in your sense of the word is something that is auditable.
Yes, basically it's about auditing control if you want to say, but it's very limited to auditing.
Some kind of check-in conditions, right?
I'm outside
Yeah.
the scope of my
Yeah.
vocabulary here.
Yes,
so.
yes. Sorry to make you confused about that. Yeah, we look from the management and accounting theory to control fraud. We not to control the flows of information or the sequence of information like computer science or workflow or business process.
Okay, so then if we go back to now your controls, so that the whole scope of this, now that we have, that straight in my head what a control is, what you're trying to do in the end is model the controls of the international interorganizational trade process
Yes.
so that you could
Prevent
prevent fraud.
potential opportunity.
Okay.
I mean, If you get the product and you don't pay,
Mhm.
you will have trouble.
Mhm.
For instance, that kind of thing happen.
So basically what you're trying to do is if I define something in a formal way, what's the deontic process flow? Then from there you will define or you will come up, okay, these are the controls you require to make sure that no fraud happens in your systems.
Exactly.
Right,
So
so
that-
these
so
are the points where you.
your deliverable is something like the, say, a way to identify these controls given a deontic process.
Okay. Yes. yes,
Actually, I understood now. Basically, these controls requirements are like conditions you need to check.
Yeah, points.
And so then he tried to find the control, the dependency of these. If there is dependency, then you check whether these will cause any conflict, violation. If there's no dependency, there's no violation, right? So, is that what you try to do?
I will show you. I think I show you one example, and then it first help you to make clear what is the control principle, what is the control requirement. For instance, this is a deontic process pattern. Look at the deontic process pattern, and here is the unilateral contract. Unilateral contract like a reward contract. When I reward to give you something, give you something called
Reward.
Reward.
Reward or reward?
Reward.
W-A-R-D, right?
R-E-W-A-R-D.
Reward.
So let me just have a quick. In computer science, controls we call constraints, right? It's like very similar to constraints
Close.
because something,
Yeah, kind of.
something need to be satisfied,
Right.
and then
Right.
basically you try to find all these constraints whether they are
Right.
consistent or not, essentially,
Right, and you've
right?
got the.
And this is to find the appropriate set of constraints.
That's right. So basically, essentially,
To make this invisible
Yeah, yeah.
deontics
a set
visible
of
in the tense.
constraints, and then you try to see whether these
Okay.
constraints have dependency, then you, if there
Yeah.
is detect the consistency among these
Exactly.
constraints. Right.
Now
Okay.
slide 19 makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because you have two kinds of controls.
Go back to
Right,
that.
right.
Yes.
Now this makes more sense because
Right.
now there's 2 points at which you want to
Achieve.
to do this checking. One
Yeah,
is
yeah.
when you're actually exchanging something,
Right.
and the other is when
To
someone's
verify.
saying, I have the right to, and you need to check it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, one is about the requirements
Uh-huh.
need to be satisfied. The other is about the causal dependence, right? The first one is evidential controls about dependence, right? It's more like flow, right? And then verification control is about the
Okay.
facts need to be.
Okay. Assume that you have 2
Yeah.
points. Assume that you have 2 points. And here is you have a right, the reaction of the right. And here is the point that you exercise the right.
Mhm.
You use the right to claim some order to do something for you. When the right created, the first control specifies that you need to have some dividend. When you exercise the right, assume that I'm the person who have the duty to fulfill your right. I have to check whether the right and the dividend you present me match or not. So there are 2 controls at the 2 points.
And complicating factors is that they can transferable in the meantime.
Yeah, to convert.
So it can go from one party to the other. And maybe modified, maybe
Mhm.
amended.
Yeah.
Lots of,
The derivative thing is international trade, for instance, trading of oil cargo. They
Oil. oil.
oil cargoes. The transferables of ownership about 120 times during shipment, on average. On average.
Average 120.
120 transfers of rights during transit. I mean, the container is going from here to there because they're trading. You see, they put it there, they take, I buy, I sell, I buy, I sell. and
Results
so
of
on.
arbitrage kind of things. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
So I'm buying oil when the oil ship is on the sea. It's like that?
Actually, they don't buy. I mean, in the same that they take the oil, they just buy the document. They just buy the right and sell the right.
Right, so like
The
a
right to
commodity
receive the
market.
oil.
Right to receive the oil. Within a couple of seconds, they buy it and they say go up and they sell, and go down. But I say, okay, I sell for instance.
It's like a stock market.
Yeah, it's
Futures
futures.
market.